Star Wars, Star Trek, and the 21st Century Christians by Winkie Pratney is truly one of the most unusual items in my collection of oddities. Now, before you go running off and clicking away, I'm not here to make fun of religion or the Christians. I already made that video. Link in description.
Not you, you talking piece of shit. Get out of here.
My Link is mute, and he has pink hair. And he's left-handed. Anyway, none of that matters.
Hey, excuse me.
I've been putting a lot of thought into how I want to present this because it is completely incoherent. I have been picking this up over the past 10 years and I'll just flip to a random passage. I'll try to make sense of it. It is beyond incomprehensible to the point where I actually looked up Winkie Pratney about 10 years ago and I couldn't find a whole lot of information. And so I think Winkie Pratney, once you get into the flow of this, the only thing that makes sense, this might be a pseudonym for Charles Manson.
Do you feel blame? Are you mad? Do you feel like
if you know, like every 5 years or whatever, the guy would come up for parole when I was a kid, and you'd gather around and Charlie would put on a show for you, and it was just magic.
Yeah, sex is a reflection. Everything's a reflection of this. When you reflect that, you reflect music. I reflected in music. That's me.
This kind of has that feel to it in a big way, so I don't know. What I think I'm going to do is just sort of read it. We're just going to read it in its entirety and try to make sense of it because I really would like to understand it. The book is only, what is it, like 89 pages, 88 pages, and a lot of it looks like this. There's not a lot of punctuation in here. There's like sentences that just end without periods, and it doesn't really fill a whole page. So this might actually end up being my shortest video. I think I can get through this whole thing pretty quickly. I might stop to make comments here and there, but there's really not a whole lot to comment on because, like I said, this thing doesn't make any sense at all. It's a complete mess. If you can help me understand this in any way, please, 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 if you have any insight into what this is, into why this exists, into who Winkie Pratney is, into what any of the things I'm about to say means, let me know. Go down in the comments and please explain. Please, if any of this makes you click and go, oh yeah, I get that, please explain, because this whole thing is just a mystery to me. Now, I don't think I can get in trouble for doing this because, I don't know, this was published in 1978 by Bible Voice Incorporated, all rights reserved. Published by Bible Voice Incorporated, Van Nuys, California, printed in USA. Cover design by Maurice T. Wagner. Those are the culprits. Those are the people who we have to blame. And I'm going to put the pages up here next to me here. That's why I'm a little off to the side. So you can follow around. We're going to put this up here so you can see what I'm looking at. And I would, if anyone has any clue into what any of this means, what this person's trying to say, please let me know. I do have my Bible handy here in case we need to reference it, but I don't think we will because ultimately this isn't really about religion. This is about Winkie Pratney's insanity. So let's just get right into it. Okay, this might help understand it. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between and on the outside of societal gender norms, may I please present to you Star Wars, Star Trek, and the 21st Century Christians. Discover the secret of the Force. Can't believe we're doing this. This is going to be my least viewed video, and that's saying something. All right, let's do this for 12 views. Let's go. Dedicated with love and affection to George Lucas, creator of Star Wars, Gene Roddenberry, creator of Star Trek, and Jesus, the Christ of God, creator of the stars. Now we get a table of contents here. You can see that we have 5 chapters and some footnotes. Page 11, Chapter 1. Star Wars 1. What does that mean? Star Wars 1. Like, are they saying, like, A New Hope is in... Are they talking about the first movie? Or why does it say Star Wars 1? What does that mean? Long, long ago in a galaxy far away, parenthetically Star Wars. The time was long, long ago. It was not so far away, as a matter of fact. It was much closer... I feel like it should say it was much closer to home, but it doesn't say that. As a matter of fact, it was much closer home than you might think. This is going to be tough to get through, man. I don't know if I can read this. I'm going to try my best. I'm so sorry. You think it is pure fantasy, don't you? You think it's just a grand and glorious put-on. You think it's great fun. And there's nothing more to it. Maybe I should read this like Charlie Manson. Maybe that would make it more sense.
That's me.
The time was long, long ago. It was not so far away, as a matter of fact, Jack. It was much closer to home than you might think. You think it's just pure fantasy, don't you? You think it's a grand and glorious put-on. You think it's great fun and there's nothing more to it.
See, that makes sense when you read it like that. Like, it should come with that inflection. Anyway. Great fairy tales have a way of telling the truth. Did he just call the Bible a fairy tale? Okay. Page 12. Snow White. Cinderella. Pinocchio. Sleeping Beauty. Star Wars. My friend, it's too good not to be true. Come with me, and I will tell you the story again.
What the fuck?
Okay. Long, long ago, there was a galactic empire. It was too real to be a nightmare. It existed, all right. It was far, far bigger than you might imagine. Fortunately for our future, it was not as great as it made itself out to be. Unfortunately for the present, it did not die like the Death Star. It still exists. And therein lies a tale of our past, your present, and mankind's whole future destiny. How did the bad guys get so strong? There is a book containing that record. Many know it. Few have ever read it. I read it. Yeah, that's how I know it's bullshit. Even fewer understand it because it's nonsense. It recounts the history of a war that took place in the universe before the Earth was born. An inconceivably terrible war in which the whole rulership of the universe was plunged. An unimaginably cosmic conflict under which 1/3 of the stars fell. Wait, is this Mormonism? Is this a Mormon book? Is this shit Mormon? Wait, we're gonna find out. Okay, maybe it's... This sounds Mormon-y. The first Star Wars. And by the way, there was a Darth Vader. Morgoth. Of course he wasn't called that. Of course he wasn't called by that name. He changed his name so often it hardly matters. Sauron, it didn't wear a mask. That is, not until later. That was when the nature of his strategy made it imperative that even his followers wouldn't recognize him. A surprisingly effective strategy at that. What do you think he looks like under that mask? With a voice like that? With a figure so huge and powerful? With a grip so viciously terrifying? What do you think he looks like under that mask?
Vader's beautiful black visage is sullied when he pulls off his mask to reveal a feeble, crusty old white man.
What do you think he looks like under that mask? The answer might surprise you.
A feeble, crusty old white man.
First, he certainly isn't ugly. Wait, this was written in 1978 before they showed us that he was a crusty old white man. Okay, he's pretty fucking ugly, bro. Secondly, the mask changes his voice. It's actually quite musical. His voice. Oh. Secondly, the mask changes his voice. It's actually quite musical.
I killed them all. They're dead. Every single one of them. And the children, too.
Oh, Winkie. I had no idea in 1978 what you were... Okay. Thirdly, he isn't quite that big at all. He's actually... Yeah, man, he's a robot. Yeah. God. Oh, this is gonna kill me. Okay. Oh, he's powerful, all right, and terribly cunning, but he's definitely not as strong as he would have you believe. Although he is effortlessly superior to any unaided human you might like to name, he's not as tall as he makes out. That all comes from a frustrated desire of his to be the one person who can look down on everyone else in the universe. Fourthly, he's not dead. That's obvious. When last seen, he was still around. When last seen, was this pre-Empire? I think this is pre-Empire. Fourthly, he's not dead. When last seen, he was still around. Mad, vicious, and murderously intent on getting back everything he lost. The story is true. He was a traitor. He betrayed a great and sacred trust, perverted vast knowledge, misused incredible power, and without a doubt, he is right now the undisputed lord of all the bad guys. The company he let down. Wait, the company he let down, like Enron? The company he let down were really the Guardians of Peace. Oh, not Enron. And Justice in the Galaxy. They were not called Jedi Knights, but they did indeed have lightsabers. The fuck? Are they talking about the sword of the spirit and all that shit? I learned that from Bible Man.
Waist belt of truth, breastplate of righteousness, shoes of peace, shield of faith, helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit.
They were appointed under the supreme ruler to not only oversee and care for the happiness of the universe, but also to guard the destiny of a tiny but cosmically significant new race? I think this is Mormon, dude. The race was to be the end result of the greatest effort in the universe, a fantastically intricate species, form and feature without parallel in all creation, genetically engineered from submolecular levels to be the designer's dream. The first pair were brought into fully functioning consciousness on a small green test planet in an odd little yellow dwarf system in an obscure corner of the universe. Wait, is this Scientology? I can't tell the difference between Mormonism and Scientology sometimes because it's all about planets and shit. The race with unlimited potential, the crowning glory of creation. They were never to know their final destiny until they passed a fundamental test. Their designers had a dream, and that dream involved an awesome destiny. No one to this day has more than a tiny inkling of what that purpose meant. And the designers set the test. Now he says designers plurally there. That's not a possessive S. Well, it could be. I mean, maybe this person just fucked up. They probably did. I'll bet that was probably meant to be possessive and not plural. But, you know, punctuation matters. And the chosen race never passed it. They grew up sadly and painfully aware of the unfulfilled longings and half-remembered dreams. They looked here and there, and they tried this and that. This is Dr. Seuss now. But nothing seemed to satisfy them, and nothing seemed to fit. For most of them, the only dreams that ever came true were nightmares, and so, sadly, painfully, one by one, they accepted fruitfully the emptiness of reality. I don't understand why they're doing that weird sadly, painfully, and then they jump to a whole new line. There's some weird stuff going on with the formatting of this. Makes it very weird to read. They became so sad and hurt that even their fairy stories and heroes in them that did not dream and did not dare great and good things Life became so ugly and empty and bitter that they sneered at all the dreamers in the world and taught their children not to hope. What the fuck are we talking about? Who are these people? The love was dead, truth was dead, and goodness never really existed. I could jump to these. Here, let's go back and see. What is he? 11. Romans 1:8. Oh, yeah, and then they want me to find a fucking Bible verse that's going to say nothing to me. Let's do it. Okay, so just to show you the insanity of this, we're going to take we're going to actually look in the Bible here. It says, we're talking about the dreamers, they lost their children, people gave up. Romans 1:18-25. So, to help us understand what Winkie Pratney is saying, we have been told to go to 18 through 25, Romans 1. Okay, here's Romans 1:18. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness, because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath shewed it unto them. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his internal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Because that, when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the uncorrupted God into an image made like the corruptible man, and to birds. What? And four-footed beasts and creeping things. Sounds like a Metallica song. Fuck yeah! Creeping death, baby. That's from this. Wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lusts of their own hearts to you know what? I don't think this is really clarifying anything that Winkie Pratney is trying to tell us. Who changed the truth of God into a lie and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. So they're saying like people were like worshiping animals more than God. Well, you get more from animals. Animals actually provide. You get food. You get all sorts of shit from animals. I've never gotten anything from God. Okay. So that was Romans 1:18 through 25. And supposedly that is supposed to clarify, they became so sad and hurt that even their fairy stories and heroes in them did not dream and did not dare and great and good things. Life became so ugly and empty and bitter that they sneered at all the dreamers. And he picked like the most incoherent Bible passage to support the most incoherent line in his fucking book that doesn't make any sense. This is frustrating to read, and I'm sure it's frustrating to listen to, and I'm sure no one is anymore, but I've got to finish this. This is my burden. This is my duty. This is what I owe the universe, is you got to know about this book. I'm doing this for you, Winkie. I'm doing this for you, Wink. Okay, let's continue. We're on page 17 here. And sad people watched sad films? Cheap sex and sad films help me get where I belong. So sad people watch sad films and read sad books and lived sad lives with ugly, empty endings and went away even sadder than before. This is still describing the passage that we just read in Romans here. He's saying that this actually happened at one point, but he's saying that they watched sad films? Like that didn't happen. Anyway, they didn't have movies then. Or Radiohead. What a shitty existence it was. But all through this, the designers never gave up on their dreams. Okay, so it is, I guess it could still be possessive or plural with the, I was hoping that their use of there would help clarify that, but I don't think it does in this sense. It is recorded in ancient history that an old wise man was contacted by his designer. He was taken out one night on a clear, cold plain and shown the silver sweep of the stars. And this man today, revered and remembered by the three greatest religious systems on earth as the father of the faithful, was asked an impossible question. Can you number them? And then, as record shows, he was made a promise never to be revoked in history. Wait a minute. Record shows that he made a promise? They weren't recording anything. This is an oral tradition. Okay, I'm getting frustrated with this now. And then, as the record shows, he was made a promise never to be revoked in history. So shall your seed be. Did he just broke back? Did this guy just get taken out into the wilderness and get broke back mountained? If so, that's kind of hot. Man was never made to be earthbound forever. His heart belongs to the heavens. His future destiny is always lain beyond the stars. We were never made to stay here. This sounds like something that influenced like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and all those shitheads. All in our little limited longings to push back the frontier of man, to plant our flags and our footsteps on the moon, Mars, and beyond are not too big. They are too small. And yet daily we die. What? And yet daily we die. Few ever finding this destiny. Millions have passed, knowing all the time there was something there beautiful, something that would put all the puzzle together, make all the heartache and suffering and agony worth going through. But it was something so this is miserable. Why is this person so depressed? Oh my God, Winkie Pratney, you need a hug, man. You don't need church. You need, you need some Prozac, dude. You need some Paxil, baby. That might make you impotent. That'd be a good thing, because the world doesn't need any more Winkie Pratneys. You scare me. Oh, wow. But something so profoundly simple that a sad and cynical generation who no longer believed in dignity and goodness and truth simply walked past it forever. He's talking about boomers? I don't know. Understand. I can't understand a word you just fucking said. It doesn't make any sense. You were made to live forever. Our hunger to go beyond the stars is not alien. It is normal. You were, because you want to explore, and just once you've explored everything you can explore on this planet, where do you go next? Well, you go down into the oceans and you go up into the stars. We're just a curious people, and we just want to see what is one step beyond our current knowledge, and we keep taking a journey in that direction. This person doesn't seem to comprehend that. Okay. You were made to live forever. You were made to live forever. Our hunger to go beyond the stars is not alien, it is normal. You were born to rule the universe. This is definitely Mormon. Our desire to plant a border beyond the edge of the universe is but a dim, diluted echo of our true created destiny. Don't give up. Don't throw in the towel, because all the world seems filled with its small, aspiring Darth Vaders. Don't line up behind the Dark Lord. Our awareness that our lives ought to be involved in a great battle. No, I don't want to be involved in a battle. I'm very tired. My knees hurt. Which somehow involves the whole future of mankind is far, far more than a fairy tale. Our dreams, our hopes, our expectations are not big enough. It is time we gave up small ambitions and discovered our real destiny. But we've been in the theater a long time, and the film is running out. Why is film capitalized? Why is theater capitalized? What the fuck? We're in the last few minutes of the movie of man, and the final battle is going down. Oh, it's been going on since 1979, and okay. The odds seem overwhelming. Many strong and great men gone forever. No sign of any of the Jedi Knights around. Against us, near invincible technological might. Its ally, supernatural power twisted to evil and destructive ends? Saying like technology and the black arts are somehow come together to fight. This is so fucking. Oh, Winkie, what are you doing to me here, man? Sorry, it is the Crossfade here. One by one, the strong men in high places, giving up the battle. One by one, few and the brave hunted down and killed. And now, the final showdown. Your heart is in your mouth. What the fuck does that mean? Oh, I'm dying, man. This is amazing. They are scant seconds away from the final outpost. Life after life has been sacrificially laid down to open the channel for an all-or-nothing frontal attack on the evil base. Life After Life is kind of a cool title. That'd be a good, like, metal album title. Life After Life by Dio. I'd be there for that. And everything rides on a miracle. But I've cheated. I've read the end of the book. I know the director. And believe it or not, it's really true. Why, Rinky? Present your evidence. Tell me how we know it's true. Give me the lowdown here. The good guys are going to win. Okay, how do we know this? Other than this, give me the evidence. And somewhere in this century, there will arise a Luke Skywalker who hears that voice, answers the call to destiny, and takes that last long ride down the trench to put a proton torpedo of righteousness into the heart of that Death Star. Star Wars 1 is over. See, again, Star Wars 1, like they're saying it's part 1. I've never seen it referred to as Star Wars 1 before. That's really weird. The last Star Wars has already begun. Gentlemen, to your ships and follow the leader. That's the end of chapter 1. I'm gonna go have a quick drink of something and we'll be right back, kids. Let's see if we can power through chapter 2 here, where no man has gone before. Oh, this is the chapter that matters to us. Fuck Star Wars, man. We're Trekkies here, baby. Where no man has gone before. Wouldn't it be something to watch? To be a part of, to see it all happen all over again. Kirk to Spock in Bread and Circuses. Again, 1979. This is probably, what did I say, 78? Is that when this came out? 78. So this predates the motion picture by 1 year. So we just have 3 seasons of Star Trek and that's it. There's no movies. This is an interesting time period to be writing about Star Trek. I'm actually kind of curious to see what Winkie Pratney has to say about Star Trek here. So let's get on with it. It was an age of global restlessness. Mankind pushed north, east, west, and south, following a strange, insatiable hunger for a brave new world. It was the generation that married a worship of nature to astrotheology, a generation of proud and unyielding ambition. The generation that founded the project. The project. What was it? This massive futuristic construct, engineering, combining topology and Kabbalistics, whatever. Utilizing high-level esoteric sciences to manipulate a level of reality only just now beginning to be understood and explored beyond the conceptual limits of our 20th century technology. So this is actually kind of sounding less like Mormonism and more like Scientology at this point, but Gene Roddenberry was friends with L. Ron Hubbard, and before Hubbard had started the Church of Scientology, apparently the two of them had conversations about starting a church, the benefits, what you could sort of get away with, the whole tax thing. And Roddenberry, his cult was more suggested, like, we're all cultists, we Trekkies, like, there is a philosophy that is baked into that. Idic is, it's Idic. It really is Idic. The closest thing I have to religion is Star Trek in a lot of ways. And we're lucky that that Roddenberry went the route he did, and he didn't go the L. Ron Hubbard route, because this video would have a very different tone if I was like screaming about, the great bird of the galaxy is demanded that we join him in the heavens when the comet flies over. And then we, have to drink the Kool-Aid or whatever. Okay. What was it? This massive futuristic construct. Engineering combining topology and Kabbalistics, utilizing high-level esoteric sciences to manipulate a level of reality only just now beginning to be understood and explored beyond the conceptual limits of our 20th century technology. What was this construct? They built it because they knew that See, again, it starts a new sentence, but it's not a new sentence. It's very confusing. They built it because they knew that hidden in the linking equations of astrophysics and cosmic realities were somehow concealed the keys to the true nature of the universe. He also kind of writes like Yoda. He kind of puts his verbs in weird places of the sentence almost, but I don't know. Okay, for all the genius of our modern technology, we have been like children experimenting with a long-suffering automobile. You let children experiment with long-suffering automobiles? Whoa, I never got to do that when I was a kid. Never got to experiment with cars. And by much pushing, pressing, and testing, we have found repeatable sequences until with obvious delight and smugness, we say to our wondering friends, "See, I know what makes it go," because we built it. Someone built that car, so someone should know what makes it. It's internal combustion. Okay, I don't know anything about anything, and I understand that internal combustion is what makes the car go. I don't feel like that's smugness. I feel like it's just understanding. We're on page 25 here, so. But this generation asked more stubborn questions and united in purpose. Filled with pride and ambition, they bent their talents and their genius to conquer the world of matter, space, and time, to search out and master the secrets of the stars, to take hold of the reins of the very universe itself. I don't think that you can conquer, maybe we can conquer the world of matter and space, but I don't think we can conquer time. Time is going to get us all in the end. We miss you, USS Enterprise. Your 5-year aborted, refitted, renegotiated mission. Wait, refitted, so maybe do they know that the motion picture is coming because they talk about a refitted and renegotiated mission? So maybe this is in reference to the motion picture. Anyway, this whole thing that I just read here, the last couple pages, I don't understand what this has to do with the Enterprise, but he throws this in here. We miss you, USS Enterprise, your 5-year aborted, refitted, renegotiated mission. We miss your sweeping odyssey into uncharted realms of space and time, your crew pushing you to the warp edges of imagination and beyond, to boldly go where no man has gone before. But the direction in which we are going why is it capital? but the direction we are going is determined largely by the point from which we are coming.
I'm like getting the feeling of coming in the gym, I'm getting the feeling of coming at home, I'm getting the feeling of coming backstage when I pump up, when I pose out in front of 5,000 people, I get the same feeling. So I'm coming day and night. I mean, it's terrific, right?
And more important to the rest of the universe than boldly going to, perhaps, would be where exactly we are coming from. The ancient book records the genesis of two great beings, two great opposing philosophies of the cosmos, two far-reaching, fundamentally different approaches to boldly going where no man has gone before. They divide all mankind, as indeed they divide the whole universe into two divergent streams, two adventures so absolutely unalike, two power sources so incompatible that those who cleave to each will cleave to each? Is that right? Did they mean clean? Because cleave is to like those who cleave to each will never meet again at the end of the journey in this or any other world. Two kingdoms. I don't know what this is talking about. I don't know what the two kingdoms are. None of this makes any sense. Are they talking about good and evil? Are they talking about Christians and then everybody else? Is that what they mean by this? One began with earth. It acknowledged only itself, its own power, its own wisdom. Its code was, a man must learn to live in harmony. Its truth was, and every man for himself. And in an uneasy unison, founded on mutual pride, greed, and ambition, it attempted to build I don't understand what any of this is trying to get across. It feels like it's written by an AI chatbot, but an AI chatbot in 1978, like with the technology that they had then. This is crazy. It attempted to build a beachhead from Earth to the stars. The other kingdom began in a lonely silence when, to a man who stood alone like a rock in a shifting sea of selfishness, a voice from beyond the stars spoke to him, and against all sense, against all possibility, against all odds, made him a promise. Your children will fill the universe. Both kingdoms are still with us. The first suffered a temporary but major disruption of ambition when the project was visited in a cosmic retribution. Again, the project is capitalized there. Is this... I don't know if this is Mormonism or Scientology, but it's so weird. Or something in between. All communications were shattered and fragmented. All self-centered construction was reduced to absolute confusion. And all work on the project was, for the time being, abandoned. But its children lived on, and today new plans are being drawn up. The old evil has been resurrected. The itch to extend its reign to the yet uncharted worlds. I think this is Mormonism. But the children of the other kingdom, the alternate kingdom, are here with us also. Though they have always been a small, misunderstood, and despised race. A people that did not fit into the easy, accommodating answer. We're getting into race. A people making all nations their home and yet belonging in their heart of hearts to none. These are the people with the unsatisfied satisfaction, the great unfulfilled restlessness. And the echo of that ancient promise still rings clearly in the minds. And they are convinced that despite the great sweep of time that has passed, that promise made long ago to them will one day be fulfilled. What does any of that mean? You're breaking my brain, Winkie.
Get French,
I don't know why I'm choosing to wear a fuck you to Billy Mitchell in this video, but fuck that guy.
Hey, if you want, I bet you we could stand here all fucking day and have this go on.
I know.
You gotta edit that because I don't cuss.
You would like Charles Mustchin. He is a man with a great history. It sits on shelves in his comfortable frame home in Australia. A home where he hosts writing men and women from all over the world. Why? A home where he hosts writers. Dude, there you go. There's a better way to say that. A home where he hosts writing men and women from all over the world. For Charles has one of the greatest science fiction collections on Earth. Some time ago, I spent a wonderful day with him, browsing through all the layers of sci-fi history on his walls, looking with awe and appreciation at some of those irreplaceable first editions. Okay, Charles Mustchin? Charles Mustchin might be a real person. I'm going to look him up here in a second. I'll put a picture of him up here if he's legitimate. But we might need to get a hold of him because apparently Winkie Pratney is saying that he spent a day with this guy. Yeah, well, he's got to be way dead at this. All these people are dead. Winkie Pratney's got to be dead. If Winkie Pratney is even a real person, they'd be like 106 years old at this point. So I'm thinking we've got to reach out to the state of Charles Mustchin to see if they can give us any information about Winkie Pratney. Did he actually spend a day with him? Does he endorse this message? What is this message? Maybe someone there can clarify. I'm obsessed with finding out what any of this means. War of the Worlds, Metropolis, Tarzan, Paralandra. They were all there, from Asimov, Isaac, to Xena, Henderson. A room that had hosted Arthur C. Clarke and others of his ilk for contents. They had come around the world to talk, to reminisce, to laugh, but I had come to ask a question. How the hell did Winkie Pratney get access to this guy? Much as any man living, where it's come from. But where do you think it's all going? Now, Charles is a hardcore man. Did he get fucked by Charles? You know as much as any living man where it's coming from, but where do you think it's all going?
Well, Winkie, I'm gonna show you where it's going. Bite the pillow, it's going in dry.
Now Charles is a hardcore man. What the fuck does that mean? A technology-projected, no-nonsense, stay-off-trips classical format, only forget the fantasy buff from way back. And I felt his disappointment and perhaps a little frustration when he said, in effect, a lot of it is going towards the mythical stuff. It's getting away from technology and going into all this fantasy. He was right, of course. He's a historian of the form. That is where it's all going. But after all, it can't hardly go elsewhere. It's been a long time since the unfortunate unmentionable stood up in a scientific convention to announce with sincere and studied deliberation that scientific research had just about reached an end, that we had found out almost everything there was to know, and that very soon technological discoveries would touch its outer limits. Dude, this was written in 1978. We haven't gotten close to any of that. The universe is filled with mysteries that we'll probably never solve, that we'll continue to strive to understand. This is ridiculous. Okay. How unfortunate that this... That's pontifical announcement. Oh, that his pontifical announcement was to be followed in short historical order by the space atom bomb, the transistor, and DNA. And the kind of light of passing history will smile somewhat mercifully at his somewhat megatonic faux pas. This is insane. But in the realm of imagination, we are really running a low tide. After all, we've invented anti-gravity, death lasers, time jumpers, transported. Wait, you mean transporters? And, oh no, it's just formatted wrong. Transported and phasered for donkey's years now? For donkey's years now. And in the world of ideas, we're pretty much up against the wall. We long ago got tired of beams and UFOs and blobs that ate up cities, let alone, heaven help us, Godzilla, Rodan, and Mothra. This shit's got kaiju in it. Yes! I knew my boy Godzilla would show up to save us all from Winkie Pratney and stomp on his crazy ideas. Oh, I worship Godzilla. We've been to the planet of the apes, which is just Earth, Winkie. Maybe you didn't see that one, but oh wait, spoilers. We've seen beneath it. We've returned to it and conquered it until it mercifully rests in peace with its TV spin-offs. Charlton Heston's inarticulate girlfriend. She's not inarticulate, she's mute. Like my favorite Link. And Roddy McDowall's makeup job. Roddy McDowall is a genius actor. He's so good in those movies. Earth has been invaded, conquered, warned, and destroyed enough times to thoroughly learn its lesson a dozen times over, you'd think. So where do we have left to boldly go anyway? Risk. I never played it. I didn't have the patience for it. Or the friends. A good word, a trigger word, the underlying word built into the heart of a good plot, a good book, not this, a good movie. A man, a woman, a child takes a great risk and runs a great race? And hopefully, wait, why is race capitalized? And hopefully, for the future of true heroes, pulls everything off successfully to boldly go where no man has gone before. And yes, my would-be Kirks, there is a new world to venture. A world where each adventurer will go boldly or not, and there is certainly that they will never come back. Wait, this says 13. Chapter 2, 13. Does this link us to the Book of Mormon? No, it's talking about Luke still. This is just the Bible. It's just the Bible. It feels so Mormon though, doesn't it? Doesn't it just like... it reeks of politeness. Anyway. Where was I? A world where each adventurer will go, boldly or not, and there is certain... Yeah, it just feels like Mormonism. Okay. The risk in this journey is ultimate. The risk requires our everything. The risk shall have our all. And all of us, one way or another, are going on this journey. It shall have us all. Ready or not. 2 kingdoms, 2 divergent dreams, 2 beginnings, and 2 ultimate destinies. Why are there only 2? Like, it seems like... well, there's like thousands of religions out there that all have different ideas about this stuff. I don't understand why they think it's always just 2. It's us or them. It's like, no, dude, there's like so many different approaches to the... Anyway. The child of earth or the child of the heavens? Well, Kirk was born in Iowa, so he's, I guess, and he wasn't the hell. The Kelvin movies made him a child of the heavens. Oh shit! And Winkie Pratney, is he responsible for the J.J. Abrams ruin in Star Trek? The project is being built and buttressed once again. The fragmented, what the fuck is the project? The fragmented voices and tongues are at last being unisoned around ambition. A breaking of those age-old protective barriers that have stood for centuries to prevent that dangerous coalition, and with skills learned by centuries of practice, ambition honored by a planet too small, and with a purpose fed by selfishness, the Earth's child kingdom is again taking aim at the heart of heaven. But I have heard another call, and wait, see, this doesn't make any sense. But I have heard another call, and know there is another unity, and we know, O Earth child, what shall be your end? Are they saying Earth child like it's a bad thing? Who's the Earth child and who's the space child? And who is Earth's child's kingdom? And I, for one, have made my choice and launched my frail craft already into the stream of the great adventure. And it is one way, and I will not be coming back. Oh my God, he's like, I'm gonna go be with you, Jesus, forever. It's a one-way trip. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Will you join us on this? No, the costlier journey. I will not join you on the costlier journey. Absolutely not. Will you come with us?
Coming.
We who have heard the still small voice and called him friend? What does this have to do with Star Trek? This generation may well be the last. For the next time heaven intervenes in Earth's meddling, that visit will have an utterly final quality about it. We may well be the last, but we also can be and must be the best. The final realm, the world beyond worlds, remains at large, uncharted and unknown to our generation, ours to seek out, ours to explore, ours to inherit. The final people. Will you join us? Will you come with us?
Coming.
Will you do it?
Let's do it for our country.
To boldly go where no man has gone before. What the shit? We're about to enter chapter 3, and I would just like to mention that at this point, I still have no clue what this person is trying to tell us. I don't know what they're saying about the Bible. I don't know what they're saying about Star Trek. I don't know what they're saying about Star Wars. I don't know what they're saying about the 21st century Christians. This thing is just all over the place. It is... Okay, we're going to get through it, but... I don't have any hope that we're going to really get any insight out of it. We're doing this for you, Winkie Pratney. We're going to see this out. The world deserves to hear your message. I don't think there's no other way anyone's going to be able to find this. This book isn't probably readily available, but this is what I usually flip open to because things get even weirder from here. It just kind of descends into madness. But that's the roller coaster ride we're all signed up for here, I guess. Chapter 3. The New Musketeers. They were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Naturally, they became heroes. Princess Leia Organa of Alderaan. C-3PO. I don't think I've ever seen that written that way. That's fascinating. Parenthetically, C-3PO. Human cyborg public relations robot. Public relations? Human cyborg relations. No, human cyborg public relations robot. Specialist in galactic customs, language, and protocol. Gold-plated humanoid, slim and slightly ungangly. C-3PO is the companion of R2-D2. R2-D2 is a meter-high information retrieval and repair robot, tripodal, a thermal capillary dehousing assister, intrepid, stubbornly courageous, and devoted to fulfilling Princess Leia's wishes. Chewbacca, he doesn't chew on something called baka? Is that what that means? That's such a terrible joke. That's such a terrible joke. What are you doing to us, Winkie? You can't be dropping terrible jokes like that in the middle of your insane religious rant about nothing. Chewbacca, he doesn't. Golden-haired gorilla form Wookiee, variously described as having eyes that are blue, yellow, soft, and scary depending on what you read, when you read it, or when you meet him under what circumstances. Co-pilot of the Millennium Falcon with Han Solo, and rumored to be over 100 years old, with a voice that sounds like a cross between a hoarse lion's roar and the bray of an outraged donkey. That's pretty good. Part bully, part coward. Wait, he's not a bully. Don't call Chewbacca a bully. He's not a coward. He's not a coward either. He's not a no. He called Chewbacca a bully and a coward. What the fuck? But very lovably scary, nevertheless. Okay, we're gonna move on. I disagree with your description of Chewbacca as a coward and a bully. Anyway, Spock, Vulcan science officer and second in command of the USS Enterprise. I agree with that so far. So here, Spock's Vulcan father, Sarek, and Earth mother, Amanda, give him a background that makes identification with either race difficult, in some situations nearly impossible. An extremely logical being with interesting ears and a Kupro goblin hue to his skin. I guess he did kind of have a little bit of a green thing going on there because they wanted to make it seem like he had the green blood. C-3PO, Spock, Chewie, R2. Strange names, strange heroes, strangely endearing. So, what does a walking carpet, a metal stand laurel, a pointy-eared Vulcan, and a sawn-off bleeping salt shaker have in common? Alienation. They're all aliens. Maybe that's why we love them. They're all strangers in a strange land. After all, there's an awful lot of people who feel the same way. With apologies, of course, to Mr. Spock, who, of course, is known not to feel much of anything. Do you remember that first day of grade school? Your mother dressed you up outlandishly. You were deposited at the gate wearing your best fixed smile to hide the stark terror in your heart. You gripped your new lunchbox tightly and gingerly ventured into the vast and terrifying world that lay before you. Remember? Junior high, senior high, junior college, graduate school, new job, new office, new neighborhood. It didn't end. It still hasn't ended. Alienation. Mr. Spock, we love you.
What the fucking.
What does this have to do with anything? We know why Bones gets exasperated with you, but we don't care. He doesn't understand you, but we do. You're different, that's all, in a way that no one can change, and you will never quite fit in the easy and comfortable molds other would like you to manage. C-3PO. It's all right to get apoplectic. Sometimes we aren't sure if we'll make it either. As for your alternate howls of bravado and cowardice, Chewie, we understand. You have become the new Musketeers of sci-fi swashbucklers on ships driven by light across the sea of stars, human enough to be different, alien enough to be like us. You have come at a time when we need you. The great God humanism mad it with wait. The great God humanism. Humanism. Wait. The great God humanism. What is... No. Humanism is a rejecting of God. What does this mean? The great God humanism madded with mother technology, and their child was our age. We were born in cynicism, raised in neo-Darwinism, baptized in pessimism, and we have mourned because we have no one to look up to that understands. What? This is the most emo. Winkie Pratney's kind of emo. If time and chance and blind undirected matter has birthed man, if we have tried the gods of East and West and found them too silly or too small, wait, that's rude. If I find your god too silly and too small, Winkie Pratney, if there really is no heaven or hell or unending eternal future, then give us back our sense of wonder? I have a sense of wonder. Restore us the joy of our salvation? What? Bring peace to our over-sedated minds with the only thing left? 2001 Space Odyssey, The Chariots of the Gods, Stranger in a Strange Land, and make us more like Muad'Dib and Dune. Wait, no, don't make us more like Muad'Dib and Dune, because wait, do I want to spoil that for the people who are going to be excited for the next movie, but they don't know what actually happens to Muad'Dib and the fascist shithead that he becomes and the billions of people that die under his... Okay, whatever. You want us to be more like the fascist dictator Muad'Dib? Okay, what the fuck, Winkie? In the name of rationalism, humanism, and technocracy, amen. If technology is modern man's Holy Spirit, then science fiction is modern man's prophecy. It is the last area left of hope and awe and adventure. Dorothy Sayers points out in her penetrating and perceptive way. Oh, thank God. I see some quotation marks here. He's going to be quoting someone else, so this might actually start to make sense for a minute here. Let's savor this. Let's see what Dorothy Sayers says. The years between the wars saw the most ruthless campaign of debunking ever undertaken by nominally civilized nations. Great artists were debunked by disclosures of their private weaknesses. Great statesmen by attributing to them mercenary and petty motives, or by alleging that all their work was meaningless or done for them by other people. Religion was debunked and shown to be a mixture of craven superstitions and greed. Yeah, I agree with that. Courage was debunked. Patriotism was debunked. Wait, none of those things are true. Learning and art were... Okay. I think Dorothy Sayers is just as crazy as Winkie Pratney, and in fact, Dorothy Sayers may actually be another Charles Manson pseudonym.
The rest of your life where?
In prison.
In prison. What prison? You got a prison in your mind? You see what I'm saying? You're in prison, son. You're the one that's in jail because you think there is such a thing as a prison.
Courage was not debunked, my friends. Patriotism was never debunked. This is stupid. Courage, patriotism was debunked. Learning and art were debunked. Love was debunked. By who? By where? This isn't sourced. It just... What? And with it, family affection and see, they just say things. They don't give you a source. Like Winkie Pratney would actually have like a source in the back of the book saying like, oh, go here and it'll adjust it. This doesn't include that, Dorothy. You're just saying shit. Family affection and virtues of obedience, veneration, and solidarity. Age was debunked by youth and youth by age? What? psychologists strip bare the pretensions of reason and consciousness and self-control, saying these were only the respectable disguises of unmentionable unconscious impulses. Honor was debunked with particular violence? What? Wait, who debunked honor? And how? And when? What? And good faith and unselflessness, everything that could possibly be held to constitute an essential superiority, had the garments of honor torn from its back and was cast out in the darkness of derision. Civilization was finally debunked till it had not a rag left to cover its nakedness? What? Enter the new Musketeers. 2,000 years ago, a man walked this earth. Uh-oh. We finally got here. We finally got to the big J man. 2,000 years, page 44 it took us to get there. We're halfway through this thing. We're more than halfway through this book. 2,000 years ago, a man walked this earth who was utterly different from any other who had ever been born on this planet. He was born uniquely, lived incredibly, died terribly, but then astonishingly, he came back. No one in all time was more at home on earth than him. But no one in all history was treated more like an alien. Perhaps the saddest verse in all of literature is this. I'm sorry, well, I gotta get the right tone, I'm sorry. He was in the world, and the world was made by him. The world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. This is the saddest verse ever written in all of literature. What? There is no loneliness on earth like that loneliness. I mean, come on. That was written by human beings. I mean, the whole thing is just a reflection on humanity. That, whatever. High in the wasted hills of Gadara lived an alienated man. He lived in caves and empty tombs, naked and insane. I like this guy. He roamed the plains and barren slopes at night, hissing to himself. This dude sounds cool, man. Nobody ever came near. Nobody ever thought about it. Nobody dared walk anywhere around there. They had all heard the rumors. People had tried once. Someone had tried to manacle him. Whatever was driving him was far more than human. He broke the chains. Just broke them. Iron chains. And smashed off the manacles on the rocks. And if you ever said he thinks this, what am I reading? And if you ever sailed past those hills, some still and chilly evening, you could hear him high in the hills, crying and cutting himself with stones. This is Winkie Pratney. Is Winkie Pratney describing his life? This emo bitch cutting himself in the hills with stones. Oh, this guy's off. Who is this? Gadonra, crazy man in the hills, man. I like this guy. His name was Legion. Oh no. Why did they make him sound so fun? He was as alien as you can get. If ever a man didn't belong in this world, he didn't. But Legion met another man who didn't fit in for absolutely opposite reasons. Two alienated men meeting in a terrified confrontation of power. Two absolutely opposed worlds. It's like Billy Mitchell and Steve Wiebe. Meeting where the sea touched the land. Neither world representing Earth alone. An otherworld madness met ultimate an otherworld madness met ultimate sanity. What is ultimate sanity? It can't be found in these pages. Love flowed out to fear. A herd of animals stampeded into the sea, and when the locals crept in closer, trembling to see, oh wait, that rhymed, they found him. He was called Legion, sitting clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. You should be. A crazy guy cut himself with rocks. You gotta keep your distance. You ever been to Olympia? Washington? You gotta be really careful when you're walking. There's all these guys. They're like fentanyl zombies, and they're just, and sometimes they're just holding knives, and you don't know why. And you just kind of walk around them and pretend like they're part of the scenery. Because if you don't, they'll cut you. The world has always been, but they're cool. The world has always been afraid of people in their right minds. We don't like extremes. You can't be in your right mind if you're in an extreme. We don't like people that are different. We prefer the safe, sane, and comfortable center. And we habitually exclude, exile, or execute anyone who disturbs our natural, abnormal world. Yeah, the Bible tells them that they should do that. If it can't be explained, kill it with words, sneers, or indifference. And if that doesn't kill the living to monsterization. But 3 cheers for the new Musketeers. We can believe in them because they really are not there at all, except afternoons and evenings, or at $3.50 a ticket. We can live out our worship and dreams in cellular worship. I think, wouldn't that be like worshiping a false E-Star and videotape? Yep, yeah. He's telling us to go watch Star Wars to worship. I mean, my friend, have you ever felt it? That strange inner longing, that inner piercing pang of sweet sadness, and longing so deep and painfully, beautifully white that we almost never mention it to anyone? And if we ever do, baptize it with awkward, embarrassing names like nostalgia, wishful dreams, romanticism. How about this name? Homesickness. That's the end of the chapter. Again, I'm not sure what any of that means. I'm not sure what we got out of that, but that was a pretty emo passage. I want to go through that again. Yeah, my friend, have you ever felt it? That strange inner longing, that inner piercing pang of sweet sadness, and a longing so deep and painfully beautifully, longing so deep and painfully beautifully that we almost never mention it. That's crazy. Okay, so before we go on to the next section, we have some photos that I honestly don't know how Winkie Pratney got the rights to use, and we'll flip through them here on the screen for a second, so enjoy all of the photos here in the book. So we're on chapter 4 here. We're on page 57. There's only, 83 pages in this thing, so we're almost through it. Let's see if we can plow through this and not break too much. Chapter 4. Sir Luke, we need you now. Oh, God. I see, sir. You can call me Luke. I see Sir Luke, C-3PO to Luke Skywalker. It's the Tomorrow Show, and Tom Snyder is talking to Gene Roddenberry about the enormous success of Star Trek, the only TV series in history that was brought back to a greater popularity than when it was first run. That's true. It kind of like failed. Famously, its ratings didn't do so well that they were going to cancel it after the second season, and the fans had this like violent letter writing campaign, and they got Star Trek Season 3 into existence through this letter writing campaign. It's the first time that ever really happened, and it was then in reruns where it really found its audience, and it grew in popularity over the next decade to the point where they made a movie, and then we've got the Star Trek that we all know and love today with The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager, and maybe to a little bit of a lesser extent, Enterprise, and all those wonderful original series movies. But yeah, so that is true. So, oh, cool. Can I just, well, I guess this is a good way to avoid copyright here, because I could probably just drop in the clip from the episode, but it's written here, so I'm going to read it. So this is Tom Snyder talking to Gene Roddenberry. Snyder. And they have Star Trek conventions, and they have Star Trek bumper stickers, and they have all these culty things. He called us culty? Fuck you, Tom Snyder, you weasel. That follow this program, and let's go a bit beyond Star Trek and find out why people have this fascination for Star Trek. Roddenberry. Great bird of the galaxy. Let's see what he says in defense. I think the crisis right now is a crisis, a search for people. Seem to be searching for something to follow, something to believe in, a leader, an idea. It seems to me that in science fiction type writing, if there ever was a time for a messiah or a phony or both, I suppose it is now. Is it a phony? He's talking a little bit about, I don't think he was a huge Dune fan, but he's kind of talking about Dune a little bit there, and he's also talking about just religion. He's talking about his old buddy L. Ron Hubbard as well, and that's not the most eloquently phrased passage there. I mean, he was just speaking, but I mean, there's a lot of interesting ideas. I like listening to Roddenberry talk. So anyway, Snyder. Why the enormous fascination for Star Trek? Roddenberry. We still get an enormous amount of mail on Star Trek, and I'm surprised about the amount of it that is really talking about the following. Hero worship of the people that were in it, because at least they were people who believed in something enough to die for it. They kept their word. There were images that were worth emulating, and I think there's an enormous hunger for that. Yeah, I think that that's true, that people want positivity. Yeah, he's got a point. I think that especially at that point in time in the mid-60s, people were, kind of clinging to optimism in a big way. They believed in something enough to die for it. They kept their word. Images worth emulating. An enormous cultural hunger for heroes. Yeah, that's always true. Yeah, George Lucas figured that out when he read The Hero's Journey, right? It's kind of that. We had a pretty full plate of anti-heroes over the last 2 decades. The good guys were just as rotten as the bad guys. Han Solo. Sometimes the bad guys won. Empire Strikes Back. Sometimes nobody won. The prequel trilogy. Nobody walked out of the theater winning with those garbage films. Nobody was sure what happened. A whole lot of times, Mr. Plinkett figured out what happened. Sometimes nobody was sure what happened. A whole lot of times, the whole thing was just ended without ending. And, well, you know what? That was true. If you watch, I don't know, that's what it came out right before. I guess it would have been like All the President's Men. I love that movie, but it just kind of stops, and then there's like a little bit of a history lesson of like, okay, we didn't have the time to film this, but this is what happens. It's really interesting. Things, oftentimes you feel like it's escalating, and that's cinema in the 70s. There was something going on there. I don't know why that was the style, but that was a really popular way of making movies. Okay. So I'm actually with Winkie Pratney on this. A whole lot of times the whole thing just ended without an ending. That's kind of frustrating. And you had the irresistible desire to go and kick in the TV tube or throw a popcorn bucket at the screen because you didn't tell you what happened. Now, I've never felt that way. I never wanted to kick a TV or throw a popcorn bucket at anything because it left me with questions. That you might have some psychosis, Winkie. This might be Charlie Manson. You knew you were never going to find out ever. Every now and then, someone came out with a movie that had a hero of sorts. There was Danny Kaye. As Walter. Oh God, this is all old people. This is all boomer shit. I'm not going to know what any of this means. Okay. There was Danny Kaye as Walter Mitty, who was a hero of great situations, even if they were all only in his mind. That sounds interesting. I gotta maybe look up Walter Mitty. There was Tony Curtis as the great imposter. I've never seen that. Who managed to bring off some astonishing accomplishments, even though he was criminally ignorant. What does it mean to be criminally ignorant and deceptive in doing so? He's criminally ignorant. And of late, we have had our Dirty Harrys and Berettas and Popeye Doyles and the French Connection, the violent, loose-moraled or sewer-mouthed heroes believing in no one but themselves and taking pains to make sure everyone else died who happened to get in the way. It was a reflection on the sort of the hangover from the Vietnam War and Watergate, and just America was in a really weird place during that time, and cinema was reflecting that. Like New York in the 1970s is like one of the scariest places in history to me. Like I can't imagine being in at least in modern history. New York in the 1970s is like a nightmare, and it's not surprising that we got the cinema that we did reflecting that in this era. So this is kind of what Winkie's talking about here, and we've been through that a few times. There was a kind of a wave of that post 9/11, and you do reach a point with it where it's like it's cathartic and it's helping you deal with these heavy things going on in the world, but you reach a point where you need a breath of fresh air, you need a break from it, you need some levity, and you just start to crave it. And then I think that's partly where the Marvel movies were so successful. They kind of came in and provided that at the right time, and then they took over the world and killed it and put a bullet in the head of cinema and images worth emulating. I mean, you're right, but I don't think all art should present images worth emulating. That would get pretty boring after a while. Then he came to our galaxy one summer. Star Wars, and with it Luke Skywalker, farm boy, crackhead, crack bull-eyzer of womp rats, genuine hero. Luke Skywalker's probably my favorite character in Star Wars, maybe next to Princess Leia. I love Princess Leia and Luke. They're the best. They're the best. They're the best heroes of modern cinema. Even though that shit's 50 years old, I don't know if I can call it modern anymore. I'm so old. Of course he could hardly avoid it. His father was the best pilot in the galaxy. His mother and friend, the noble Obi-Wan... Of course he could hardly avoid it. His father was the best pilot in the galaxy. Anakin's pretty gosh darn good. His mentor and friend, the noble Obi-Wan Kenobi. Love Obi-Wan. Everybody loves Obi-Wan. His dry and desolate home planet of Tatooine, a great character training ground for a boy with dreams and a strict Uncle Owen. This is all good, yeah. What does this have to do with... I'm not discovering the secret of the Force about the 21st century Christians or anything here. So what with a message from a beautiful princess? Oh, does he not know that they're sister and brother yet at this point? So what with a message from a does he think Luke and Leia are gonna fuck? They kinda do, almost. So what with a message from a beautiful princess, a commission from the last remaining Jedi Knight general in the galaxy, a callous empire, annihilation of all that remained of the only family he ever knew. You know, that's actually pretty good. This is 1978. And think about what they would get to in the prequel trilogies. This is actually still pretty accurate. They didn't have to do a ton of retconning to make everything fit because it was so vague in the originals. But commissioned from the last remaining Jedi Knight General in the galaxy. He was a general, General Kenobi. Ooh, yeah. Callous Empire, Annihilation, oh yeah. And the classic motives of awakened love, adventure, and family revenge. You don't know how much family is involved in this, Winkie. You better be careful about where you take this here. Sir Luke Skywalker, or just plain Luke to you, began his odyssey. In order to be a hero, you must undergo great danger, run great risks, and still come out the winner. Luke Skywalker has indeed his share of same. His share of same? His share of same. Luke Skywalker has indeed his share of same. Such a terrible sentence. Star Wars is one continuous battle, broken only by a few short interludes to explain to us who the new characters are, who they are about to fight or run from, and or to set us up for the next battle. During 1 hour 59 minutes of running, there is a terrific death toll. This includes 40 Imperial... Wait, he counted how many people were killed in the first Star Wars movie? This means... What the hell? How did he count? Okay, wait. How did he count? Okay, 40 Imperial stormtroopers, at least 6 TIE fighters, 10 rebel ships, 2 ornery space bar hops, 1 uncle and aunt who got burned to a fucking crisp, 8 Jawas, 1 pea green hitman, I guess that'd be Greedo, 1 planet fully populated, and 1 Death Star. That's kind of fascinating. Winkie Pratney actually took the time to list out the entire death toll of the first Star Wars movie. That's what an emo little bitch you are, Winkie Pratney. I gotta count all the deaths in every movie I watch. I've got a special notebook. It's called my Death Note. I hope no one steals that and makes it a better idea. Someone will probably steal the idea of a death note before I get to do anything with it because I'm Winkie. I'm Winkie Pratney. Not counting R2-D2, who was shot twice. Yeah, R2-D2 is a casualty, but not dead, only wounded. Nor Sir Luke, our hero, almost too many times to count, including attacks from 1 Tusken Raiders Gedderfi as... Gadderifi? Someone tell me how to pronounce that. I guess that's his staff thing that he holds over his head. Okay, 1 wayward eyeball, Baroom Bully's blaster, assorted energy bolts from TIE fighter stormtroopers, and backlash from a too close bombing run, and bypassing for the moment Obi-Wan Kenobi, whom we will simply label as gone. No one's ever really gone. All in all, you don't have to get philosophical about things. You just spent 63 pages doing that, you emo hack. If you did, you would discover an awful fact. I told you it was going to be emo. He's talking about like why we need these like positive heroes, and all he's writing about is how miserable everything is, how miserable he is. This is more about Winkie Pratney's desperation and loneliness, I think. That's what I'm learning here. So if you did, you would discover an awful fact. If all we are is the partial product of a blind, staggering series of collisions of matter, time and chance, if we came from disorder millenniums ago and go to disorder a few scant years or hours from now, there really is no justification for heroes. There is really no intellectual place for them at all? Or for that matter, what? He's saying that if the Big Bang happened and we evolved through a series of natural processes dictated by physics and biology, there's no justification for the existence of heroes. Intellectually speaking, there's no place for them at all, or for dignity, or for value, or anything at all worth living, dying, or being a hero for. Why? Why can't those things just evolve along with humanity? Well, maybe we'll find out here. Let's see what Winkie has to tell us about this. You see, though the last 2 decades of movies may have been amoral and unhappy, they often were really only trying to be sensible. Given their philosophical premises, they were actually quite logical. The only trouble is the lifestyles they portrayed were unusually quite horrible. I mean, because life generally is quite horrible, as Winkie Pratney is going to tell us here in a second. Is it true that we only have 2 alternatives: honest films without truth or hope or joy, or fantasy films with morals and purpose and heroes? Or is there another alternative? Yeah, there's a lot of alternatives. There's a lot of different kinds of movies exploring a lot of different kinds of protagonists. You can... Wow. Long before our generation was born, you can't just say that. You can't tell me, you can't just say long before our generation was born without telling me what your generation is, Winkie Pratney. Like, you could have been 78 when you wrote this in 1978. You could have been 12 when you wrote this. I don't know what generation you are, but you're going off about this like I do know, and you haven't given us that information, nor have you given us any other real information here. Long before our generation was born, 2 men stood at the gate formed by 2 narrow, rocky cliff faces. Ahead of them was the 1st century post of the largest army ever assembled for battle against them in their memory. Was this the Battle at Helm's Deep? They had come overnight, and now stretched in mind-boggling and numberless military might across the plain in front of them. Their coming was not exactly a surprise. Well, that's nice when they at least give you a heads up before they do it.
I'm coming day and night. I mean, it's terrific, right?
When the defending army heard of their arrival, they took steps to meet this emergency of their coming. Their record shows how this was done. They hid themselves in caves, they hid pits, rocks, and high places. Alright. They hid themselves in caves, thickets, pits, rocks, and high places. Some bought out costume shops for opposition uniforms. You can buy that at costume shops, and practiced an enemy accent. A few just lit out to parts far, far away, and a pitiful few hundred followed their leader trembling. What am I reading? Oh, this got really weird really quick. It bought out the costume shops for the opposition uniforms. Okay. All it took now for a very bloody annihilation was a couple of foolhardy heroes, or 2 heroes. Sizing up the limited access situation, the king's son said to his friend, "Come on, let us go over. It may be that the Lord will work for us." There is no restraint to the Lord to save by many or by few. They're like, hey man, maybe chance will be in our favor. It all depends really on how big your leader is and just how much you count on him when the chips are down. I don't know how we got here. I just read this whole thing and it just kind of... I have no clue how we got here. These 2 had no precedence. No computerized console would have advised what they did. No one had ever launched a battle with these odds before and won. No analysis of the enemy's weakness would have ever turned up a victory prediction. And against all odds and contradictions to all possibilities, they launched an attack that triggered a victory. Come on, that's not in contradiction to all possibilities. Come on. A computer would have told you that. It is recorded that only 20 fell before them in that first incredible onslaught. But other things happened simultaneously that no one could quite explain either. An earthquake out of nowhere, creating mass confusion. The enemy suddenly turning on each other, possibly suspecting disguised attackers. No, they rented the costume shop, remember? They cleaned out the costume shop. Of course that's what it was. And the glorious confusion, all previous cowards coming back to join the heroes. I don't even know what they're referencing here. I guess we could say, what part of the Bible is this shit supposed to be about? Samuel? This is like Old Testament bullshit, right? Yeah, man, it's like, it's early Old Testament bullshit. Like, this most certainly, like, you're talking about, even if if there was a real battle that happened, the details are like lost through generations of an oral tradition before anyone ever wrote this down. Like, you cannot take this as like literal fact. There is something about an all or nothing conflict that tends to create in a culture a hero out of even a Han Solo. There is something brave and touching and beautiful about the little X and Y wing fighters that closed up the gap and threw their machines in front of the raiding TIE fighters to give the lead man a crack at the thermal exhaust port. Give the lead man a crack at the thermal exhaust port, all right? When the chips are down, when defeat means total and certain annihilation, when you have to fight and win or die trying, you tend to forget the sad, impersonal ideas by which you were told to order your life and make all your what? When you have to fight and win or die trying, you tend to forget the sad, impersonal ideas by which you were told to order your life and make all your decisions. That is the most emo thing I have ever read. Whoa! Yeah, that is just oozing with emo. When men and women face impending death, they tend to forget their theories and begin to live in reality. And the reality is this: at the heart of the universe is not only justice but mercy. Oh no! Beyond the limits of time and space and matter is truth and life and direction, and it is not sin to dream of goodness being real and winning out over rottenness. Why? That's not a statement that needs to be made. No one ever said it was a sin to dream of goodness being real and winning out over rottenness. That's like the opposite of it. You're like victimizing yourself here or something. I don't know, but that's something going on there, Winkie. It is sane and factual and inevitable. Earth now faces its own final conflict. You know what? I'll bet Winkie Pratney thought this was probably going to happen. He probably thought the rapture was going to happen in his lifetime. Poor Winkie. Here we are 50 years later laughing at him. The embodiment of, or her, who knows, or it, I don't know what wrote this. The embodiment of all dignity, reality, and beauty is alive and waiting for his team, and in their thousands on farms in inner cities and out of the way small. No, not in their thousands, in their billions. Like, this is, you're talking about hundreds of millions of people. This is like 1 billion people on the face of the planet. You're talking about identifying as Christian, unless again, this is Mormon, or I don't know what this is. It could be Scientology adjacent. Interesting, but he's talking about his team and their thousands on farms in inner cities and out of the way small towns. Are the missing Jedi Knights in the making, dreaming dreams of great battles yet to be fought in the heavens? The needed salt to help stop the rot of a collapsing, corrupting civilization bent on pushing its stupidity and selfishness out to the far reaches of the universe. And maybe this was written by a 16-year-old. Maybe am I being mean to a 16-year-old? And I heard a voice saying, "Whom shall I send? And who will go for us? Sir Luke, we need you now."
Sex with a woman and coming.
Sex is a reflection. Everything's a reflection of this.
One more chapter to go, then I can get back to reading the stuff that I actually want to read, yeah. We're almost there. Chapter 5, May the Force be with you. Don't be too proud of your technological death machine. Its ability to destroy a planet is insignificant besides the power of the Force. Darth Vader to Grand Moff Tarkin. That's true. They say it has never been properly explained. What? The energy field created by all living things, one theory states. A power that holds all universes together. Something you can command, and yet can command you if you surrender to it. That sounds an awful lot like love to me. The Force is something Han Solo has never seen in his travels from one end of the galaxy to the other. Something that gives Obi-Wan Kenobi his disturbing talents over men's minds and lightsaber. It's kind of disturbing. The Jedi mind trick is kind of creepy, yeah. Something that has ways that can be learned by the Jedi Knights to help them keep peace. Something that finally gives young Luke the help he needs to make an almost impossible shot that results in the demise of the Death Star. "Let yourself go, Luke," says Obi-Wan. "Your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them. Let go of your conscious self and act on instinct." See, that's my Obi-Wan. Should I do a real Obi-Wan for this? "Let go. Let yourself go, Luke," says Obi-Wan. "Your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them. Let go your conscious self and act on instinct. Stretch out with your feelings." "I did feel something," says young Luke. "Aw, man."
Coming.
You don't want an old man teaching a young boy to feel something. I don't want Obi-Wan to be in the Epstein files. Is that what Winkie Pratney is about to reveal here? "I did feel something," says young Luke. "I could almost see the outlines of the remote." "Congratulations," says Obi-Wan. "You have taken your first steps into a larger world." And even Han Solo's skepticism tends to waver as he waves Luke goodbye and calls after him the famous phrase, that's kind of a weird phrasing, "May the Force be with you." May the Force be with you. Fucking Han Solo, I'm a drunk. We're gonna go fucking drinking, you fucking cat. My dog man I hang out with. He's a bully, and he's also kind of a coward. We like to drink together. This is my Han Solo. This is so stupid. Oh, this is breaking my brain. I'm so sorry. Wouldn't it be wonderful if there really was a Force? Something of great and awesome power available to anyone, anywhere, at any time? Who would pay the price? Wait, who would pay the price to learn its ways and surrender to its direction? I think everybody. After all, it's been a long time since we had something like it in fiction. Thousands of years ago, plays had an element in them missing today in most drama. The early Greeks didn't always have their characterization down, which is fitting because neither does Christopher Nolan, so I'm sure he's appropriate for that thing that he's doing. The personalities, is this supposed to be peopling? They're peopling? I don't know that word. Peopling? What? Peopling, their personalities, peopling their dramas sometimes seem stilted and wooden, but one fundamental theme maintained the tension and conflict and all. That feels like a word of the day calendar thing. People is peopling their drama. It must be a word. Maybe I'm just a dummy. Or maybe Winkie Pratney is being a bit of a hipster and using some esoteric language that you got to go to a dictionary for, like a dick. It was the overall arching element they called fate, the sense of cosmic purpose and direction and power that we sometimes call by the name destiny. By Shakespeare's time, characterization had improved. Dialogue and three-dimensionality. Three-dimensionality? What? Dialogue and three-dimensionality, like having a z-axis? Or what? I mean, are you just talking about like understanding characterization? Dialogue and three-dimensionality evolved to new heights of reality, but that same element still persisted, giving ultimate significance to these classic dramas. You could feel it in the pulse of Julius Caesar. Oh, cool. I get to read Shakespeare. Wait, I need this. They said, beware the Ides of March, and they stuck a duck's tog in his back. All right, let's do this. There is a tide in the affairs of men, which, taken at the flood, leads on to fortune, omitted all the voyages of their life, is bound in shallows and in miseries, and we must take the current when it serves, or lose our ventures. I have no clue what any of that means. Or in the, oh yeah, now here's why we got to get all Winkie Pratney emo about it, because we're going to get some Macbeth up in here. We're in the dark and gloomy prediction of the witch's apparition of Macbeth. Macbeth shall never vanquish be until great Brenham, wood too high, Dunsinane hill shall come against him. Fucking hell, everybody loves Macbeth! Time passed. Turn the page. Dialogue improved. In communication, if not in content, scenes were written as slices of life, and everywhere the emphasis became reality. Unfortunately, by then reality had changed its premises. Western man had come of age. They say that like it's a bad thing. He brought to his new and amazed array of technological tools for communication a universe without cosmic significance. That's not true. The curiosity is the cosmic significance, that, questioning what is out there. Mankind, wow. A universe without cosmic significance. Mankind without ultimate purpose or destiny. Like, life really is all journey, man. There's no destiny. It's just... Wow, Winkie is really deluded here. A history born of accident and going precisely nowhere. I wouldn't say by accident. I mean, by the design of the choices that people have made. I mean, people shaped history, and destiny, where it survived at all, became little more than our lot in life, enshrined in popular song like Que Sera Sera, whatever will be, will be. For the old popster, Born to Lose, for the country and western fan, and Born to Be Wild for the Hells Angels. What? Wait, destiny became our lot in life. A shrine upon Born to Be Wild. Okay. But that's not necessarily our... I mean, I don't think Born to Be Wild is necessarily saying this is our lot in life. This is a celebration of it. But nothing significant has ever been changed in history without a sense of destiny. All the great generals and leaders have always understood that principle, from Alexander the Great, who reputedly rode up to the Gordian knot, the puzzle marked by the legend, whoever undoes that knot shall rule the world, and cut it in half to the little goose-stepping, toothbrush-mustached Adolf Hitler, who stated, oh, I didn't know Hitler was going to make an appearance in this. Wait, okay, from Alexander the Great, who reputedly rode up to the Gordian knot, the puzzle marked by the legend, whoever undoes this knot shall rule the world, and cut it in half, to the little goose-stepping, toothbrush-mustached Adolf Hitler, whose stated goal was to play Messiah, redeem the German people, and reshape Europe. And who called his book Mein Kampf, or My Destiny. I think it was My Struggle, right? I think you might have translated that wrong, Winkie Pratney. Perhaps the hunger for occult films and books today, like The Exorcist. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. The Exorcist is brilliant. The Omen and The Other, both those are really good too. Are also a hunger for an older time when there was a power greater than the small and insignificant man, which, if he tapped or was tapped into by, could make of him a great and cosmic significance. With all the sophisticated rationalism, we really miss the Force. The Exorcist isn't a great movie because of all the like spooky stuff at the end. The Exorcist is the greatest horror film ever made because it's about a sick child and no one can figure out what's wrong with her, and that's the horror of it, when she's like going to all the doctors and they're like, we're sorry, we can't help you, and they're putting this kid through these like spinal taps. It's like the creepiest thing ever, and it's that sense of terror of just, you know, she's the mother in the film, she's gone through every possible doctor she can, and now she's like, I have to resort to faith. That's all there is. That's all there's left. Unfortunately, in the real world, that doesn't usually work out for most people. Like in our fantasy, it does get to work out, and we get to fight we get to defeat it. But it's really just a family drama. I mean, The Exorcist is more of a family medical drama than a horror film. When you get into like what's actually creepy about it and what it's making you feel, you just feel for this mother who's like, please help my child. But let's see here. So Winkie Pratney's talking about The Exorcist, really a hunger for an older time when there was a power greater than a small and insignificant man, which if he tapped or was tapped into by, could make him a great and cosmic significance. With all our sophisticated rationalism, we really miss the Force. And he thinks that it's the Oogie Boogie ghost part that we're longing for just because it makes the world more interesting. Which, you know, it makes for a fun story, but it doesn't make the world more interesting. We don't need ghosts to make the world interesting. Alright. We dismiss such things as fantasy. I do. We of the educated West, or hungering for something we are embarrassed to even acknowledge, we go to the developed philosophical world of the East for answers, hoping against hope to find something that will restore significance to our little lives. That was kind of going on throughout the 60s. You know, a lot of people were kind of checking into Eastern philosophy for answers in the hippie movement, and you know, didn't really lead anywhere, just trading one religion for another, and you're not going to find any answers to your problems there. It might be a terrible thing, a sad, disillusioning thing, if we found there really was such a force in the universe, but that it was ultimately true that such a power was utterly careless. Who won the battle? That when you boiled it all down, the force was like atomic energy, just as willing to take life as to preserve it, just as ready to help the bad guy as the good guy, just another name for a rarer, lesser-known technology. And when you got right down to it, mankind is still ultimately alone, and the only one who ultimately determined the outcome of all history. Would it hurt you to know, after cheering the heroes, that the Force didn't care who won it all because it was nothing more than an impersonal, immoral power? We're getting into like watchmaker stuff. Would you feel the same if Darth Vader had spent more time in meditation or whatever and not slaughtered Obi-Wan Kenobi, but also turned Luke, Princess Leia, the Rebel Alliance, Chewie, Han Solo, and the robots into shrieking, screaming, shattered bits of charred bone, flesh, and metal? Why is that the option? So we're saying, would we feel better if Darth Vader spent more time in meditation and chose to what? Would you feel the same if Darth Vader had spent more time in meditation or whatever, and not only slaughtered Obi-Wan Kenobi, but also turned Luke, Princess Leia, the Rebel Alliance, Chewie, Han Solo, and the robots into shrieking, screaming, shattered bits of charred bone, flesh, and metal? What? What does that even mean? How did we get there? How do you go from the meditation to the, what? And why would that make anyone feel better? What? And there was no sequel to Star Wars 1 because the evil guy, we're calling it that. And there was no sequel to Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. I'm going to do a special edition of this book. No, and there was no sequel to Star Wars 1 because the evil Galactic Empire had accomplished exactly what it set out to do. And with the help of the Force and the educated evil of their ambitions, they eradicated all freedom and hope, and from now on would rule the galaxy forever. Perish the thigh. I hope to know that Luke's moment of greatness really began when the gentle, wise man who had led him so far to victory over all that was evil got his eye during a momentary lull in that incredible lightsaber contest. That incredible lightsaber contest with Darth Vader, and with an enigmatic smile of rare and wonderful misery, held up his lightsaber over his head for Darth Vader to take that final blow, that final fatal blow. Oh my God, that is true. I never thought about it like that, but he did kind of catch Luke's eye in the middle of that. He was like, "Hey kid, watch me die." Like, ready to be traumatized, Luke? No! That's totally what Obi-Wan did in that moment there when he caught his eye. Wow, yeah. The old man who had led him so far to victory over all that was evil caught his eye during a momentary lull in that incredible lightsaber contest with Darth Vader. Wow, and with an enigmatic smile, rare, wonderful mystery, held up his lightsaber over his head for Darth Vader to take that final fatal blow. And ringing in our minds, we remember his final words: "You cannot win, Darth. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine." And then the deadly swooping slice of the lightsaber, the form and figure of Obi-Wan falling as it slashed into him sideways, and instead of the expected body lying on the ground, the astonishing spectacle of the empty clothes. The astonishing spectacle of the empty clothes. That's what I'm going to say about the laundry that I haven't put away yet. It's just the astonishing spectacle of empty clothes. What are you complaining about? 2,000 years ago, a group of men, small in themselves and without significance, well, not to them, gathered around a gentle, wise leader who put a dream in their hearts for a kingdom, and they followed this man through fierce opposition to the verge of victory, but they didn't understand his words then either. It is expedient for you that I go away. If I do not go, the counselor will not come.
Coming.
There's so many dads have said this. I gotta go, man. Mine did. Unless a kernel of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it will bring forth many. The man who loves his life shall lose it. The man who loses his life for my sake shall come. For my sake, the same shall save it. This is crazy. This is Bible. None of this means anything. This is like, I'm not saying this doesn't mean anything. These words mean things in context if here, but I feel like Winkie Pratney is just pulling things out of context and slapping them in his book, and you're just like, what does this even mean? Unless a kernel of wheat falls into the ground, it dies. It remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it will bring forth many. The man who loves his life shall lose it. The man who loses his life for my sake, the same shall save it. What? The same shall save it? Whoever serves me must follow me, and where I am, my servant will also be? You're talking about like living in servitude, which, I know we're supposed to do. I don't think that's a good thing. I think that's a way for people who have constructed this to control and manipulate others. But, what do I know? I'm only a legally ordained minister. And in shock and utter disbelief, they watched him die, their beloved leader, friend, and counselor, cut down by his enemies, murdered without resistance in front of their eyes, gone, cut off forever. Just when they needed him most, they didn't understand. Okay, so he's like making a comparison of Obi-Wan Kenobi's sacrifice to the Jesus sacrifice, which again, it's all just the hero's journey. People were really not that different, as different as our cultures can seem, we all kind of have the same wants, desires. People want, the next generation to be better off than they were. They want to be happy, they want to be healthy, and, they want to have a little bit of interest in their life. They want to have a little bit of intrigue. They want, something fun to happen every now and then, and that might be an adventure. You just see that come through. That's part of human nature. So I don't think it's too, what they say, there's like one of 7 different kinds of stories, so it's not like there is lines that you can draw there, but it's not anything to do with anything significant other than it's just one of the 7 stories that you can tell. And I know that's reductive. I don't agree with that. I kind of appreciate postmodern fiction more than anything for that reason. Things that just invent their own conventions and then break them. Still don't understand what any of this is telling us, but we have some quotes here, so let's continue. You cannot win, Darth. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. It would be some time on from that awful moment as they gather together as one, preparing for the coming awful conflict, that the wisdom and the power and the presence that had once in a limited way been with them from time to time came down on a day that rocked the world. It rocked Alderaan, I'll tell you that. To happen to them all at once and together. Wait, that's kind of a weird sentence too, isn't it? Came down on a day that rocked the world to happen to them all at once and together. That's a weird phrasing. And that little frightened band of cowards, betrayers, and failures launched a massive offensive that shook the world, and it turned it upside down. And each new hero from that day on has heard that familiar, still, small voice. This is the way. Walk in it. This is so absurd and abstract, and you're really drawing some big conclusions here, Winkie. All right, we're almost done, man. And like Obi-Wan's voice right there besides Luke in the cockpit of his fighter, directions can come, guiding actions to an essential resolution no technology can accomplish. Trust the Force, Luke. Long, long ago, of a galaxy not far away, it was written, the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent take it by force. How? Can I be a part of the violent force taking heaven by force? That sounds awesome. Yeah! It is not only wild and wonderful to imagine we might tap into a power which could take us far beyond human ability and make us smarter than a targeting computer. It is an empirical fact, a reality more solid than the structure of the worlds The Force is a person, and that person is the executive power of the Godhead. The Force is a person. What is the Force? It's a person. And that person is the executive power of the Godhead. His name is the Holy Spirit, and his power is available to all who will give up their untrustworthy selves to the voice of that wise and gentle leader. Oh my God, we are all untrustworthy. Give up our untrustworthy selves. Oh my God, to the voice of that wise and gentle leader. Will you dare to lay aside your limits and trust your life and destiny to the wisdom that holds together the stars? Trust you everything that you have and are to trust and enter his... Wait, it will cost you everything you have and are. Oh, I see. Everything you have and everything you are. It's just a weird... You don't see that like that too often at the end of a... Because it's not the end of the sentence. But what the fuck? Winkie! 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 Ah, I'm ready to strangle him. Luckily, I'm on the last page. Will you dare to lay aside your limits and trust your life and destiny to the wisdom that holds together the stars? It will cost you everything you have and are to trust and enter his army, friend. We got through it. But all the future awaits your decision. But all the future awaits your decision. But all the future awaits your decision. Why does all the future await your decision? Or my... What? But all the future awaits your decision, and you may well be missing the missing hinge that helps swing victory. Oh, you might be the Luke Skywalker, so you better be on the side of good and fall in line with Jesus, is what it says. There is nothing in the tomb but empty clothes. He is not dead, but he is risen. So go out into the darkness and put your hand firmly in his, and may the Force be with you. The fucking end. Oh my God. That was a tough one to get through. It doesn't flow poetically. It doesn't, like, when it tries, I mean, the whole thing is just supposed to be like this philosophical exploration of, I guess, I just read it and I'm still trying to figure out how to sum up this thing. How do you summarize this thing? It says, let's read the back of it. It says, Star Wars... Star Trek in the 21st century is trust the Force, Luke. Wouldn't it be wonderful if there really was a Force, something of great and awesome power available to anyone, anywhere, at all time? Who would pay the price to learn of its ways and surrender to its direction? Long, long ago, of a galaxy not far away, it was written, the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent take it by force. Will you dare to lay aside your limits and trust your life and destiny to the wisdom that holds together the stars? May the Force be with you. Honestly, that kind of sounds more exciting because there's like more violence and it's more, we gotta take it by force. You kind of get into that a little bit. Star Wars, Star Trek in the 21st century Christians discover the secret of the Force. I don't feel like I discovered the secret of the Force. We barely spent any time talking about Star Trek. Like, we mentioned alienation a little bit. I don't know why we got into alienation here, because he didn't really say anything about it. He just talked about, you know, as human beings, we can all feel a little different from time to time, and maybe that's more true for some people. And then I don't really know. And then he just goes, so he talks about that, and then he talks about, he gets into Dorothy Sayers' quote about just debunking everything, about debunking art and debunking patriotism and debunking courage and debunking family affection and debunking, just, I don't know how we go. I mean, the whole thing is just an incomprehensible mess. Like I said, I feel like this was written by an AI in 1979 or 1978. Like they put this into whatever weird linguistic program that they had into a computer that took up a small room in a college, and then it spit this shit out. and they published it, and they're like, it's good enough. It'll make people believe in church. We got to get the nerds. But it does kind of, there are parts of it where it sort of feels like Mormonism, or like potentially like inheriting planets when you die. It sort of hints at that in a couple of places, where that's very much a part of the Mormon faith. And the way they start referring to technology, particularly once you get into the Star Trek chapter, it really starts to feel more like Scientology than Mormonism. But again, it's not really saying anything about any of those ideas. And then Winkie Pratney just gets really emo and talks about how miserable everything is and how we need everything to be better. Just expresses a lot of misery, a lot of discontent, a lot of sadness. And I wouldn't say there's a lot of self-reflection happening there. It sounds more kind of everything sucks and everything's miserable, and no, it's like teenage angst. It kind of feels that way a little bit. So I wonder if Winkie Pratney was maybe 16 when they wrote this. That's very possible. The formatting is very strange. There's tons of errors throughout. It makes it very difficult to read. There are some interesting words. There's like one or two passages where it's almost like impossible to read just because you're missing punctuation and you're like, what is going on here? Is this supposed to be possessive or is this supposed to be plural? It's not really clear. And that sort of context would be helpful. So I don't know I've had this thing on my shelf for 10 years, and every once in a while I've just picked it up and I've sort of flipped to a page and just been like, what the hell is this even about? I don't understand any of this. And anytime I've tried to read through it, I just have failed because it's pretty incomprehensible and it doesn't really go anywhere and it's not saying anything. It's a weird trip to nowhere. And this was the only way I was ever going to get through it. So thank you for taking this trip with me. I don't really know what to say now. This has just kind of left me feeling empty and tired. And let's see, I'm just going to flip to a random page and we're going to let Winkie Pratney tell us how we're going to go out on this. But Legion met another man, another who didn't fit in for absolutely opposite reasons. Two alienated men meeting in a terrifying confrontation of power. So I landed on Legion, and that's pretty metal, right? This could have been written by, I'm not going to really do any research. 10 years ago, I looked up Winkie Pratney. I didn't really find any information. This may be a Charles Manson pseudonym. Charles Manson would have had access to Star Trek in prison, I imagine, at some point. He probably saw Star Wars on TV. He probably saw all of these things. He probably started going, hey man, you know, the force is like, you know, when I say do it, it get done, and I'm on the hill and I say, oh man, you know, I like riding doom buggies.
You know, a long time ago, being crazy meant something. Nowadays, everybody's crazy. So, I mean, you know, like, you know, synonymous. I mean, it's an irony, man. It's a pair of ducks. I mean, are you crazy?
He's doing that. Someone's writing it down, but they're also trying to, like, squeeze scripture into it. And he's like, that Mr. Spock, man, he's like the devil. But there ain't no devil, because I'm the devil and you the devil and we're all the devil, and that's why we all gotta burn. He's saying stuff like that, and then somehow they piece that together into this. This is like a combination of like Charles Manson beat poetry, free thought, and Christianity, and then Star Trek and Star Wars fandom. And this is at a very weird phase for both of those franchises, because at this point we only had Star Wars 1 and we only had 3 seasons of Star Trek, and that was it. So it's kind of amazing that, you know, we had such a huge fandom here that this book even exists. I wanted to take, I was hoping that if I actually sat down and I read every word of this, that I would walk away being like, okay, I at least understand why this exists. I at least understand what Winkie Pratney is trying to say. I understand that Winkie Pratney is living in a time when a lot of popular media is, I would say, more on the darker side of things. It is like the Taxi Driver era of things. It's Godfather. It is anti-heroes, and we go through those phases. But there's still good stuff out there. It's not like those are the only movies being made. You can still find hope out there. It's just, maybe it's not the biggest things that are reaching out to most people, because most people, that's what they're feeling and that's what they're needing to express and explore during those times. The market sort of dictates the media that's being made. He didn't say anything about Disney in here. Oh, I guess he did mention Cinderella and stuff, but I mean, like, Disney was still making movies during this period. I mean, they were having a little bit of a lull, but you got like The Jungle Book, and you got Sword in the Stone, and oh my God, the awesome the Dexter Riley movies, the young Kurt Russell movies, the Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, Strongest Man in the World, the Invisible Man. Is that what those 3 movies, the Dexter Riley trilogy? Those movies were so great. And I mean, this is kind of like in the era of here, like the late 60s, early 70s. This would have actually, that's a good, fun hero, optimistic hero that's in the cinema. You could totally go see that. So I don't totally agree with Winkie's premise that, everything's just miserable, because even when it feels that way, there's still like a lot of positive, hopeful media out there that you can find. As someone who sort of came of age in the, 9/11 era, when everything was just, got kind of miserable and really reflective for a minute, like, there was still a lot of just fun stuff out there, because there always will be. You just got to look for it, Winkie. So other than bemoaning how miserable cinema of the 70s was, I really don't take anything away from this. The Christian thing is kind of like weirdly just tacked into here, and it doesn't really, again, say anything other than like, well, Obi-Wan's like Jesus, so you better be ready for the end time battle. And then they pull really random passages, totally random passages out of the Bible that just seem like I don't understand. And for those of you who are kind of following the pages, I will include the footnotes at the end here. I'll have them posted here, so you'll be able to see exactly, if you were reading this and you wanted to see what those numbers were going to be referencing, you can actually do that. Definitely one of the strangest things in my collection, at least related to kind of my Star Wars, Star Trek nerd fandom. This is just, I wonder how many people have actually sat down and read this thing and what they walked away from it thinking. If anyone was ever like, oh yeah, this is a good point. Yeah, Winkie's right. I kind of know the Bible a little bit. I'm not super well versed on it, to the point where it's like, though, when you do find the verse, it still doesn't make sense. You're like, this makes more sense than this, where you're like, okay, I kind of understand, at least in the context of the story that's being told or whatever is being discussed. I at least understand what is being told here. With this, you then connect it to this, and it's still like, what does that even have to do with anything? It just doesn't make any, it's so bizarre. And it sold, it's $1.75 is what it says. And even with inflation, I paid $2.50 for it at Half Price Books in 2016. So, that's the worth of it. But it sits proudly on my shelf, and I will cherish it forever. And I'm glad I was able to share it with the rest of the world, and it's now preserved in a place that's probably not going to go away for a while. YouTube's probably going to be here forever. Like, I don't think they just, my channel doesn't get any views, but I don't think they delete things just for that reason. So this should be preserved now, and I thank you for being a part of it, and for hopefully helping me understand too. If any of this, like, where I look really confused here, there are parts of this where I'm just saying words and I'm not even processing what any of it can be. If at any point here, if you're like, oh yeah, I can kind of fill in the gaps there, please do so. Please tell me what this is, or why this is, or what I'm missing about this, because it's perhaps the most incomprehensible. And someone got paid for this. Like, there's money involved in this, like money. It just blows my mind when you see something like, when you pick up something like this and you're like, any 5th grader could write something better than this. You could sit a 5th grader down and say, write about Star Wars, and it would be better than this. I guarantee you that. And yet they got paid for this. That is what blows my mind about this. So I don't know, man. Star Wars, Star Trek, and the 21st century Christians. Discover the secret of the Force written by Winkie Pratney in 1979. There it is. Thank you so much for bearing with me through this nightmare. Really appreciate it. This was just something that it's kind of been on the back burner for a little while in my mind. You know, I've had this for 10 years and I've been wanting to do something with it. I've been wanting to talk about it for a while, and I don't know, I just got the idea to just go ahead and read the whole thing and see how that goes. When I first started this channel, there was just one video. There was one thing that I really wanted to explore, which was the current state of modern Star Trek. And I'm still really proud of that video. I will have the link in the description, the real link, and it kind of just grew from there, because then I wanted to talk about the history of, I wanted to talk about Star Trek's history of exploring religion. Star Trek V is kind of a springboard for that. I mean, this video is probably deceptively titled because I really do get into the whole history of the franchise's the handling of religion. We really get into, there's a big chunk of it that's just talking about DS9 that probably could and should have been its own video. But it's tucked away there in my Star Trek V video, so you can check that out if you want to. And then from there, you know, I've always thought it was interesting that, you know, Enterprise had a whole season that was sort of a response to 9/11. I hadn't really seen that talked about too frequently, at least not recently. I mean, when it was happening, it was talked about a lot, but I haven't seen a lot of video retrospectives kind of getting into it on this platform, and so I made one, and nobody watched it. That's cool. I had a lot of fun making it, and that's kind of all that matters. It's like I say, this is just a productive way for me to get some of these thoughts out there and just feel like, you know, I kind of move on from them. Like, I'm making these videos are my statement. I can sort of say this. I never have to, you know, argue with anyone in a comment section ever again. It's just, my thoughts are here and they can be referenced here, and that feels good. So we still have A Tale of Two Fandoms, Trekkies v Twihards coming up. That's been a lot of fun, and I'm really excited for that. And then after that, the big Section 31 video. So, you know, like, subscribe, comment. No one's gonna watch this. This is like one of them. Like, I can barely read this. It took me 10 years to actually, okay, I'm gonna sit down and read this, and the only thing that encouraged me to actually keep reading it is the fact that I'm making a video, so I have to. So I can't imagine anyone's gonna actually listen to the whole thing. I wouldn't. But there it is, and now I can move on from it. So thank you for giving me a platform to do so. And as we always say here at the Lo-Fi Crossfade, peace, logic, and metal. See you next time, y'all. Can't believe I just read Winkie Pratney's Star Wars in the 21st Century Christians in its entirety. I can't believe I just did that. Why am I? What is my life? What is happening to me? Why am I doing this? Why am I trying to like inflict this upon others? Why am I trying to spread this disease created by Winkie Pratney? Why am I doing this? Am I part of the problem?
Coming.